Back from Prince. This is the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show, and I am not Jesse Jackson Jr., nor is my co-host today, Dr. Cornell West. Jesse Jackson Jr. is off today, attending to a pressing family matter. I spoke to him a little bit ago. He is okay. His family is okay, but just needed to take a little time off to deal with a family issue. But he hopes to be back in this chair tomorrow. So Dr. West and I get a chance to do double duty today. How's this feel, Doc?
Oh, it feels good, though, brother. I'm telling you, it takes me back to our precious memories, Smiley and West.
That's
Smiley
it.
and West.
Smiley. We, for those who don't know, Dr. West and I were honored for some years to co-host a program on public radio called Smiley and West, and I still get people to this day who have reflections about that show.
Same here, though, brother.
Yeah, and sometimes on my show today, I'll have to tap into our library to pull up programs and people that we talk to that are relevant in this moment. As a matter of fact, the last time I did that, when James Earl Jones passed away.
Oh, yeah.
You may recall, you and I had the honor on Smiley and West to talk to James Earl Jones.
God, that's so
Many people. Stephen Sondheim. So many great guests we had on that program. And so I've dipped into that library a few times when I need to pay homage and pay respect to those who have made their transition. So Doc and I had the honor of co-hosting Smiley and West for a number of years on public radio. So this is the first time that we've sort of done this, as it were. I've been honored, of course, to have him on my program. He has his own program heard here every day on KBLA Talk 1580. So he's done his 1 hour show. I've done my 3 hour show. And here we are back together again, brother, for sitting in for Jesse Jackson Jr. today. And I think I want to let me start here, and then we can, you know, we do. We'll let it do what it do, right?
That's right.
We'll let it do what it do. But I want to come to this because your perspective on this is unique, and I suspect if Jesse Jackson, I know, if Jesse Jackson Jr. were here today in his chair where he should be, and hopefully will be again tomorrow, he would have a lot to say about this. It's this internal battle that Democrats are waging in real time in front of our own eyes. We can see what we see. They can say what they say, but we see what we see. There are a couple of things I have suggested or posited of late that I want to just take your temperature on with regard to this internal battle they have. There's a big piece in the New York Times in today's paper, I think. And the headline reads, Democrats' internal battle isn't over ideology, but how hard to fight Trump. That their internal battle is not so much about ideology, but how hard to fight Donald Trump. And you and I both know there's always internal battles inside the DNC about ideology because there are progressives. There's a progressive caucus in Congress. So there are more progressive voices inside of the Democratic caucus on the Hill. So there are these internal battles to be sure. But this article suggests that the real fight they're having is over how hard to fight Donald Trump. So it's less about ideology and more about strategy. Put a pin in that for just a second. I have said over the last few days on my show, and I believe this strongly, Doc, that Chuck Schumer at this moment is not the answer to the prayer. He's just not the answer to the prayer. And I hate to say this because I like Hakeem Jeffries. And in this sense, as I said earlier today, I admit to being a little bit tribal. The idea of him becoming the first black Speaker of the House, I like that idea, although I recognize that black faces in high places don't always deliver for us. I recognize that symbolism matters, but to you and me, substance matters more. And yet I feel somewhat tribal about him. And he's also a fraternity brother of mine. I'm a Kappa. Dr. West is a good Alpha, and yet we are still brothers.
Deep brothers.
Deep brothers, man. Deep brothers. We got two of the Divine Nine covered right here in this conversation. And so Hakeem is my fraternity brother, and yet I'm not so sure that alongside Chuck Schumer that Hakeem Jeffries is the answer to the prayer in this moment, and it pains me to say that. So that's the setup for where we're going to go when we come forward. I want to just spend this hour. Dr. West, as you well know, is an independent candidate for president, and so if anybody has something to say about this, he does, about this internal battle you see going on inside the Democratic Party right now. One of my guests on my program earlier today, Ashley Woodard Henderson, just went right at it. The Democrats are suffering from an identity crisis. They are suffering from an identity crisis. I know Doc will build on that and take us even higher in that regard. And then this notion of whether or not the Democratic Party has the right kind of leadership in this critical moment. He's Dr. Cornel West. I'm Tavis Smiley. We have the honor today of reprising, bringing back for one day only, Smiley and West, our public radio program of years ago. But we're going to spend this hour delving into these topics and a great deal more. Dr. West and I are honored to have the opportunity right now to sit in for Jesse Jackson Jr.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Texting privacy policy and terms and conditions posted at textplan.us. Texting enrolls for recurring automated text marketing messages. Message and data rates may apply. Reply stop, opt out. Individual results may vary. Consult a doctor prior to use.
If you've struggled to lose weight in the past, this important message is for you because you could lose as much as 50 pounds or more with Zelfie. Zelfie makes it easy and affordable to get weight loss treatment 100% online. Zelfie providers can prescribe FDA-approved GLP-1 weight loss medications clinically shown to help people lose weight like Wegovy, Zepbound, and others. Plus, help get the medication covered by insurance so it's as little as $0 a month.
The doctors are super helpful, and the meds have been a game changer. It's the first program I've had success with.
Before Zelfie, I was unable to lose weight, even though I was eating healthy and exercising 6 days a week. Zelfie helped me not only lose weight, but I feel so much better.
Text GOAL to 200-300 to get started today with Zelfie and see if weight loss medications like Wegovy or Zepbound are right for you. Don't wait. Text now for a link to your exclusive offer. Text GOAL to 200-300. That's GOAL to 200-300. GOAL to 200-300.
The revolution will not be televised.
What's up? It is Killer Mike, also known as Michael Render, and I'm encouraging you to listen to more, not less of Truth Time with Dr. Cornel West and Senator Nina Turner on KBLA Talk 1580.
Texting enrolls you into reoccurring automated text messages. Consent not required to purchase. Message and data rates may apply.
Hey, Dan, how you doing? Haven't seen you around the gym for a while.
Yeah, I've really fallen off. Since I turned 40, I just don't get the results I used to get.
Could be lower testosterone.
Lower T?
Yeah, I went through it a while back. Once you hit 40, your body has less free testosterone. I got Nugenix Total T, and it's made a huge difference for me.
I've seen that ad on TV. Is it for real?
Oh, yeah. The key ingredient is something called Tesnor, which helps boost free and total testosterone levels to help you trim up and stay lean.
And it's made a difference for you?
Man, I feel like I'm in my 20s again. At work, in the gym, and in the bedroom.
Are they still giving out complimentary bottles for people to try it for themselves?
Yeah, you just need to send them a text.
Text ROCK to 42424 right now for your complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T, the #1 selling testosterone booster at GNC. Plus, text now and we'll include a bottle of Nugenix Thermo, our most powerful fat incinerator ever, to help you get back into shape fast, absolutely free. Text ROCK to 42424. That's ROCK to 42424.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
I tell Miles this is it isn't right for him to do this to me all the time. You put me in a situation where I got to step on Stevie.
Yeah, it's sacrilegious.
That's right.
To step on Stevie Wonder. That girl.
Yeah, it is sacrilegious to step on Stevie, but the show must go on, as they say. He is Dr. Cornel West. I am Tavis Smiley. We are sitting in today for Jesse Jackson Jr., who is away tending to some important family business. But in case you've just tuned in, we're going to talk in this hour about the internal battle that Democrats are waging at this moment. We can see that this caucus in some ways is imploding, and I don't think that's putting too much on it. But they are certainly in an identity crisis. They're trying to figure out who they are, how they're going to show up, how they're going to fight Donald Trump. And there is some disagreement about that. And I said earlier, I know that Jesse Jackson Jr. would have a great deal to say about this story today in the New York Times, given he spent 17 years in Congress. So I know he is very passionate about the ways in which Democrats are showing up or not, depending on one's perspective in this present moment. With that said, I yield to the gentleman from Union Seminary, Dr. Cornel West.
Brother, you know it is always a joy and a blessing to be in conversation with you. And we are in deep prayer for Brother Jesse and Gina as well. We know that both of them going to be all right.
Yes, sir.
But I would say this, though, that things have reached a point of such decrepitude when it comes to political parties in the American empire that it's hard to call either one of them really a party. The Republican Party is very much a cult And that's not a party. That's just tied to big money and a particular personality who dictates what ought to be done, and people simply defer out of sheer fear. There's a whole lot of Republican elected officials that can't stand Trump, that don't want to follow him, but they're scared, they're intimidated, they have no courage, they have no spine. Democrats, not really a party either. They're professional politicians tied to money operations. And so they always testing to see what the next polls say. They testing to see what the next strategy ought to be. They testing to see what their brand ought to be. And a brand ain't nothing but a market strategy. You're just trying to project some kind of persona or image that has nothing to do with substance, nothing to do with content. So if the brand says, oh, we need to be tied to the working class. Well, if you haven't had a vision, if you haven't followed through in execution with any policies connected to the working class, the best marketing in the world's not going to do it. You just didn't deliver. You didn't follow through. How come you didn't follow through? Well, your donors, your benefactors, your big money people, they didn't want you to follow through. Oh, I see. 70% of the people in America want Medicare for all. Neither party gives a damn because they tied to big business. That's just one example among a host of others. And so the question becomes now, well, what do you do in such a situation? Well, the identity crisis of the professional politicians tied to big money is very real. The sister's right about that. But I don't see how any party can be redeemable in any substantive way. I think they both have become so decrepit that they're beyond redemption. They're so tied to an unjust status quo that's driven by big money that they can't conceive of any alternative way of being organizations, so that they're no longer really political parties in a deep, substantive sense. And that's very sad because we have to have some political institutions as this empire is imploding, my brother.
What's your sense of how we got here? I mean, I ask this question in part because, to quote you, Washington has always been bought and bossed by big money and big business.
That's the key right there.
That's Westian to the core. So it's always been that way. But it seems, to your point now, that one party is a cult, the other is just a party of professional politicians, a band of professional politicians. What's your sense of how we got here?
Well, I think, you and I were talking about this. What year do we write The Rich and the Rest of Us?
It was 13 years ago.
Wow.
13 years ago.
So that would have been 2012.
2012.
2012. And there, we talked about poverty in terms of not just our precious poor brothers and sisters of all colors needing serious attention and elimination of poverty. We talked about the poverty of imagination among the corrupt politicians. When politics becomes legalized corruption and normalized bribery and politicized larceny, then you no longer have mechanisms through which voices from below can be heard. I love the way my brother, your other brother, Big Cliff. Cliff said, when you live in a country where the only thing that makes sense, produce sense, S-E-N-S-E, sense, C-E-N-T-S. It's all money. The commodification of a culture leads toward the gangsterization of a culture. So it's all about survival of the slickest and the richest. And when that becomes your basic criteria, then you don't have any integrity left. There's no moral core. There's no ethical compass left, so that the legacies of Martin King's and the others are just something to look at as a spectator rather than to embrace as something constitutive of who you are as a party or people or a person or a community. And that's the spiritual decay that we're living in, though, brother.
Somebody said to me the other day that the real tragedy is we have these two parties. One of them can't make government work, and the other doesn't want government to work.
Ooh, wow, that's powerful.
One of them can't make government work, and the other doesn't want government to work. So we are in.
But it reminds me of the qualitative difference between ignorance and stupidity.
Okay, hold on. I need to hear this. The qualitative difference between ignorance and stupidity. Give it to me, Dr. West.
That when you're ignorant, you have no access to truth. When you're stupid, you have no interest in truth.
Wow.
So when you're stupid, you've already precluded and trumped any form of self-criticism or critical reflection that is required for the quest for truth. If you're ignorant, you just don't have access to it.
Just don't know, yeah.
Exactly. And when you have socialized stupidity, and this is very much what you have among the cult and with the gangster in the White House, and very much what you have too much of the culture across the board, people don't want to be critical. So the Democratic Party, for example, is stupid. They're not interested in the truth about themselves. When they run up against a wall, do you see any critical reflection? Do you see any critical thoughts about how they found themselves in that situation? No, they start blaming everybody else. There's no Socratic energy there. You have to have some Socratic energy to be a true seeker. Now, if you're ignorant, you just haven't been exposed to it. You know what I mean? I'm ignorant about bluegrass music. You know, and I'm stupid in some sense. It's not like it's my highest priority that I'm going to seek the truth about it, but I'm open to it. You know, Brother Robbie George, he play it, he tells me about it and things. But I'm just ignorant. Everybody got their forms of ignorance. I've got learned ignorance. You got learned ignorance. Everybody does.
That's right.
But when you give up on being interested in seeking the truth, and we're seeing that on so many different scales. I mean, my God. I mean, the Trump administration, in terms of whitewashing history and afraid of critical race theory because they don't want to know the truth about what they did to enslaved Africans and black folk under Jim and Jane Crow and all the lynchings and all the vicious attacks on us. They don't really want to know. You see what I mean? It's not just that they're ignorant, they're stupid. They want to make sure they don't know, nobody else knows. So at that point, no possibility of a quest for truth. Now, what is that? 1989, KRS-One, DJ D-Nice, self-destruction.
Self-destruction.
Addicted to self-destruction. And we dealing with an empire right now that's addicted to self-destruction.
Miles, cue that up for me. I want to hear that. I want to hear a little self-destruction. Since Doc referenced it, while he's queuing that up, I want to just say this. I thought about you a couple of days ago. I think about you every day, but I thought you a couple of days ago because nobody in this country was calling Donald Trump a gangster but you years ago. I want to just underscore that Cornel West is the first person and has laid on it more than anybody calling Donald Trump a gangster. And he's been pushed back on many times for saying that. But in real time, we are seeing the ways in which Donald Trump is a gangster. When you give the middle finger to the judiciary,
that's true.
That's gangster, man. When you tell a court, a judge, I don't care what you think. I'm going this way anyway. That's gangster. And there's a long list of examples we could offer, but Dr. West, years ago, called Donald Trump a gangster. And now in real time, every one of us is watching the ways in which Donald Trump is showing up. That is clearly gangster. It just underscores once again that our prophet Cornel West was right then. He's right now. We're seeing it in real time. You got somebody self-destruction right, Miles? Just give me a little taste of that since Dr. West raised it.
KRS-One, DJ D-Nice.
A little self-destruction.
Coming up.
Well, today's topic, self-destruction. It really ain't the rap audience that's bugging. It's one or two suckers, ignorant brothers, trying to rob and steal from one another. You get caught in the mid. So to crush that stereotype, here's what we did. We got ourselves together so that you could unite and fight for what's right. Not negative cause. The way we live is positive. We don't kill our relatives.
Pop, 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 when it's shot, who's to blame? Headline, front page, and raps the name. MC Delight here to state the bottom line. The black on black crime was way before our time.
Took a brother's life with a knife.
You know what's amazing about this, Doc, is that this track, the line is that you're headed for self-destruction. We're already there.
We're
not just headed there. We have arrived at self-destruction, and yet it appears there's a significant slice of the American public as yet that seems not to care about the fact that we've arrived at a place of self-destruction.
Yeah, because in so many instances, people, one, don't want to believe it. Two, it hasn't come to their house and neighborhood yet. And three, even when they receive the memo, they don't want to really take it in. It's just sitting out out in front of the house. And they don't want to bring it in the house.
Don't want to wrestle with it.
No, they don't want to come to terms. They don't want to wrestle with it. But of course, black folk, we always the canaries in the mine. You see, we've been dealing with self-destruction 400 years. And if we don't come to terms with it, lo and behold, our loved ones ain't going to survive, let alone thrive. But the addiction to self-destruction is something that the great literary artists, I mean, that's what Moby Dick's about, the whiteness of the whale and the ending up with the raft is a coffin. That's the only thing left after the Pequod, after the nation's ship goes under because of the self-destructive activities of those who are on the ship. The same is true with Beloved. The levels of self-destruction of a nation that can't treat black people with any kind of decency and dignity, even if the only way we can love ourselves is to kill our children so that they won't get thingified and viciously treated by white supremacist slaveholders. That's highly controversial by the great Toni Morrison.
Infanticide,
infanticide, absolutely. Those are levels of self-destruction, but that's also gangsterization. We talked about this in Race Matters, over 30 years ago, in Democracy Matters, with the gangsterization of the whole country and the world, and then we tried to do it again and with Richard and the rest of us. So it's a matter of just trying to be consistent in trying to be constant in our truth seeking and our justice seeking.
I am curious, back to my earlier point, as to how you process, speaking of being a canary in the mine, you called Donald Trump a gangster a long time ago, and now we're seeing the ways in which he is showing up with gangster activity every day. As I said a moment ago, there are a number of examples we could offer. But when you tell, not that I have any greater respect for them than everyday people, but when you tell the judicial branch in this country that you don't care what they think, you're going this way anyway, that's gangster activity if ever there was. How are you processing? That's how I want to phrase it. How are you processing that what you predicted, what you called out years ago, is being seen now by everyday people in real time, and everybody now is quoting you that Donald Trump is a gangster?
Yeah, I think a lot of people hadn't seen the qualitative distinction between a hypocrite and a gangster. The hypocrisy is the tribute that vice pays to virtue. So that you might be headed toward vice, doing vice, but you know what virtue is, you're just falling short. That's hypocrisy. But a gangster, there's no standards of virtue whatsoever. You do anything, say anything, think you can get away with it, and if you don't get away with it, lie on folk, demonize folk, vilify folk, villainize people, make them the villain, and always push it away from the focus on oneself. And so in that regard, I mean, then the challenge is usually when people begin to recognize gangsterization, they tend to be headed toward paralysis and feeling as if they can't do anything. And that's why it's very important. You and I come out of a great tradition of great black folk saying, hey, we're not surprised by any form of gangsterization or evil. We're not paralyzed by any form of despair. Hope is not a mood. Hope is a virtue. Hope is a verb. You got to be in motion to sustain your hope with a love and a justice that the world didn't give you, the world can't take away. That's the tradition that sustains dealing with gangsterization. Because gangsterization is... for a lot of people, you read the New York Times, people just having heart attacks. They just can't believe it. This is America. Oh, my God. Is it really true that the Constitution doesn't mean anything? That's the same Constitution that enslaved black people for over 100 years practice. Come on now.
Yeah. I'm thinking now of your phrase of years ago, the niggerization of America. And that's what these folks are starting to understand. That Donald Trump is a gangster. And in many ways, people are just pulling their hair out. How could he do this?
How could he do this? Oh, my God. He's not following the law.
Exactly.
Jim Crow was the law, mother. Shut your mouth.
Yeah, that's it.
Jesus
Christ. When we come forward, I want to pick up on something else that Doc said earlier. And this has been fascinating for me. And I'll explain my view on it when we come forward. I want to I want to take Doc's temperature on this. But he used two words earlier when it comes to Trump. The two words he used are scared and intimidated. By whatever term you use, scared, intimidated, fearful, but people are bending the knee. I mean, every single day in so many ways, we see people bending the knee. Bending the knee. Can I just keep it real? That's what Chuck Schumer did.
Ooh.
Hate to say it, but he bent the knee.
That's real.
He bent the knee.
Got scared. And
got
scared. Out and bowed down.
That's exactly right. He bent the knee.
You're so right, brother.
So I want to talk about what we think of Donald Trump ruling by fear, ruling by intimidation. We'll talk about that part. He's Cornell West. I'm Tabitha Smiley. We're sitting in for Jesse Jackson Jr.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with 4 Things You Should Know with BIN News. The Pentagon has removed an article on African-American baseball legend Jackie Robinson's Army service amid President Trump's DEI purge. It detailed his military career, court-martial acquittal, and MLB legacy, but remains available on the Internet Archive. Kevin Howell is making history as North Carolina State's first black chancellor. An alum of the university, he was also the school's first black student government association president in the 1980s. He starts his new role on May 5th. The Maui Police Commission will decide soon whether to place Chief John Pelletier on leave. He's accused in a lawsuit of helping cover up a sexual assault linked to Sean Diddy Combs, which he denies. And New Jersey lawmakers are seeking to honor the 688, the only all-black women's battalion in World War II. A bill proposes May 18th as 688 Day, recognizing their service despite racism and sexism. Get BIN News on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Running out of hot water? Water Heaters Only makes replacing your water heater easy. With one call and great pricing, Water Heaters Only can have you back in hot water the same day, within hours of your call. Visit waterheatersonly.com. That's waterheatersonly.com.
Is this the time? This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Trump administration's assault on diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives has made its way to a sports icon, and a lot of folks should be ticked off about it. I know I am. The Defense Department, under orders from the president, has removed a story on its website about the military service of Jackie Robinson. Before Robinson became Major League Baseball's first black player in 1947, he was a second lieutenant in the U.S. Army during World War II. Robinson served our country until he earned an honorable discharge in 1944. 3 years later, he became a fixture in American history when he signed a contract with the Brooklyn Dodgers. Every black person in America and every black politician needs to let the Defense Department know that it is unacceptable to try to erase the legacy of Jackie Robinson, an American hero. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. Stories are power. The Black Land Lost Narrative Archive Project is an effort to collect, preserve, and amplify stories of black land loss. It will form an invaluable resource for scholars, authors, historians, educators, storytellers, policymakers, and change agents who wrestle with issues of restitution, reparations, racial inequality in home ownership, and the racial wealth gap. Through documenting stories of black land loss, the archive will help demonstrate the magnitude of what black families have lost and will continue the national dialogue to encourage paths to restitution, rebuilding, and healing. Support the Black Land Lost Narrative Archive Project by visiting www.blacklandlost.org or by donating at www.blacklandlost.org/donate. Spread the word to inspire awareness, activism, leadership, and change. And join us in making a lasting impact. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
A new day is Behind every great moment in history, there's a woman whose story went untold. This March, KBLA Talk 1580 celebrates the trailblazers who changed our world. From Rosa Parks to Constance Baker Motley, from Katherine Johnson to Kamala Harris, these are the voices that broke barriers, challenged limits, and reshaped America. Join us all month long as we honor the women who dared to dream, fight, and lead. KBLA Talk 1580, amplifying women's stories that inspire generations.
Are you having trouble hearing? Hearing loss can devastate the quality of your life. Now, there's an affordable fix for you or your loved one. Rated in the best hearing aids of 2024 by USA Today, Audion Hearing has the highest quality hearing aids at the lowest prices, just $189.
I actually like them better than my old $5,000 hearing aids.
I could not believe how my hearing and life changed.
Join over 500,000 happy customers by going to audionhearing.com. That's AUDIEN hearing.com.
Oh no, stomach issues again?
Stomach issues?
Who are you?
Your pancreas. I could be the real reason for your diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose oily stools.
I thought it was my stomach.
People often do, but any of these symptoms could mean having a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and speak with your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by Abbott.
You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
I know Karita, Quincy Jones, Doctor, you recall the night that we had dinner at Quincy's house?
Oh, my God.
Quincy called me and said, Tavis, I want you to get Dr. West, come to the house for dinner one night.
We had a time with Brother Quincy.
We were there for hours, man.
Whew, that was rich.
Just talking and fellowshipping with Q.
That is so true, though.
I miss that brother, man.
Nobody like him, man.
Nobody like him and never will be.
Oh, never will be. I mean, we was with him in Montreux and
that's
France
exactly right.
too,
We saw him in Montreux as well. No,
yes,
we
were.
We had some good time with Q. Some good times with Q.
Lord have mercy.
He's Cornell West. I'm Tavis Smiley. I know you're asking what y'all Negroes doing on here. Isn't this the Jesse Jackson Jr. show? It is. But Jesse is away today dealing with some family matters, and so we hope he's back in this chair tomorrow. But today, Dr. West and I, Doc is, of course, teaching at Union. He happens to be in L.A. today, and I'm always in L.A., and so we thought we'd sit in today for Jesse and help him out while he attends again to some family issues, but we are pulling and praying for him. We continue our conversation now in case you've just tuned in. We're just trying to figure out, King said, where do we go from here?
Where do we go from
That's
here?
a Kingian question. Right now it's a Democratic question. Where does the DNC, was this Democratic Party, go from here? There's a piece in the New York Times today, in case you haven't seen it, and the headline says, Democrats' internal battle isn't over ideology, but how hard to fight Donald Trump. Their internal battle is not about ideology as much as it is about how hard to fight Donald Trump. And both of us agree that what Chuck Schumer did last week was just another example of Democrats bending the knee. And in some ways, Donald Trump is ruling by intimidation, by fear.
That's right.
I said moments ago that Dr. West was the first person on the national scene to call Donald Trump a gangster. Straight up called him a gangster. And people thought that was a bit much, and in some ways, Dr. West was pushed back on for saying that. But now everybody, as we say in my neighborhood, everybody sees Donald Trump behaving in gangster-like ways. The evidence is incontrovertible at this point that Donald Trump is in fact a gangster. But it was Cornell West, Dr. Cornell West, who called him that first. We were talking in the break a moment ago about John Roberts, who stepped up yesterday and showed a little bit of spine. basically saying, Mr. President, I'm paraphrasing, you've gone a little too far now. You can't start talking about impeaching judges because there's a process here. And the process for when you disagree with a judge's ruling is called appeal. There's an appeals process. But we don't walk around talking about impeaching judges. So John Roberts had heard enough, and even though he's the head of that conservative Trump court, he stepped up and put this statement out yesterday that was rare for him. And so yesterday, many of us were like, good for John Roberts. He finally stepped up and said something in this regard, and I still stand by that. But the more I thought about it, the more it hit me that John Roberts has sold out the rights of everybody else in this country. But when Trump comes for his cohort, then he puts a statement out.
Only for the judiciary that he takes a stand.
Do you see where I'm going with this?
I see what you're saying.
But for women and reproductive freedom, for black folk and affirmative action and other corrective programs, etc., 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 on and on we could go. But when Donald Trump comes for him and his group,
see, I hadn't thought of it.
Then he puts out a rare statement, right?
Yeah.
But this is the same John Roberts,
the same
who sold all the rest of us down the river. Does that make sense?
I mean, I hadn't looked at it through those lenses, but it does make sense, though. It really does. But then the question becomes that even that has a lateness, because when you think of all of the executive orders that were executed so quickly before the courts even had a chance, that they're already done. They've already dissolved various USLA.
That's right.
What the United States aid.
Yeah, USAID.
Yeah, that's it, USAID.
Sure,
that's what I'm looking for. Sure. And so that's already done.
Right.
So that if, in fact, it's unconstitutional or anti-constitutional,
you're late.
You're late.
Yeah, exactly.
You're late.
Yeah.
Now, you're right, though, when you're talking about impeaching judges,
That's
then
right.
he takes a stand.
That's my point. Yeah. Yeah.
No, I hear
you've
what
been
you're
silent. You've been silent on where our rights were concerned.
Wow.
When they wanted to trample on our rights, you didn't say nothing. To quote Cornel West, you didn't say a mumbling word.
Say a mumbling word.
But now you want to put a statement now. See,
no, I see what you're saying. When you think about it, what's left as the fascism expands at home. If the courts continue to be weak, or you get an isolated response here or there, and the president has no interest whatsoever in following the law, he's already let folk know that. He's let people know what he thinks about judges as he was undergoing his conviction and was designated
not just people,
and so forth.
Not just
The
people.
judges.
He told the judge to his face.
Exactly.
He talked about Judge Merchan in New York like he was a dog.
That's exactly
to his face.
To his face.
And all the judge could say was to his lawyers, counsel, get a hold of your client.
Get a hold of your client.
That's all he said.
Can you imagine if a black man did
that?
Stop.
I said that.
Oh, Lord, have mercy.
I just said that.
Shoot. What did they do to Bobby Seale in Chicago?
That's right.
Right there on the spot, they gaggled him, put scarf through in his mouth. And, oh, man. I mean, but it's just, it's, see, the intimate connection between the racism against black people that is just running amok, and the racism against Palestinians that's running amok. There's an intimate connection, because all you got to do is flip the script.
That's right.
If it was happening to white folk in America, it's a qualitative. If it's happening to Europeans or Israelis in America undergoing genocide, Schumer would be on the cutting edge of fighting against genocide.
Yeah.
But Schumer, you got a book coming out. Tavis and I stand with our Jewish brothers and sisters. We believe any form of anti-Jewish hatred, anti-Jewish sentiment is wrong, and we take a stand.
That's right.
We say the same thing about Palestinians, same thing about anybody else, same thing about black folk, but the same thing about Palestinians. Where's the addressing anti-Palestinian racism? If you can't address that, then you want other folk not to be racist against your tribe. Narrow, vicious tribalism has no moral content.
That's right.
Now, we love black folk. We understand we always start on the chocolate side of town, period, because that's our mamas and our daddies. But we allow the love and the justice to spill over to other communities.
That's right.
And if you don't do that, you're nothing but a tribalist.
Yeah. Irene and Joyce.
Irene and Joyce. Nothing. Nobody like them. Nobody like them.
I thought the other day about whether or not Judge Merchan has had second thoughts about whether or not he should have sent Trump to prison.
Ooh, I hadn't thought about that.
The story has changed so much since he had him in his courtroom, and I've often wondered whether or not he regrets not sending him to make a statement. We had a conversation on my show the other day about Biden. The Supreme Court gives Donald Trump immunity, as you recall, before he becomes president again. That decision was made before he got back to the White House.
Exactly.
So that same immunity that Donald Trump had, Joe Biden now has. At this moment, he was the current president. At that moment, current president. He had immunity. And I've thought often as well about what more Biden could have done. And I wouldn't expect Joe Biden. He's an institutionalist. I'm not naive. Right. He would never have done this.
Right.
But if Donald Trump really was the existential threat to this country that they kept telling us he was, with all the stuff he was already saying, promising to do if he got back to the White House, Joe Biden could have made a move. I mean, he had immunity.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm not saying off him. I'm not saying assassinate him. I'm just saying that the conversation and the response could have been a lot more robust than it was, because all we got was this line: he's an existential threat to the democracy. My point is that everybody saw this coming. You more than most. Again, you called him a gangster years ago. But it was like this thing just happened it's like watching a film in slow motion.
Slow motion.
It's like we saw this coming.
That's true.
We saw it coming and nobody stopped it. Nobody did anything. And for that matter, too many Americans voted for him. But we saw this coming. And to your point, now we're in this moment and everybody's just, you don't say.
You don't say.
I
think Mueller should have caught him.
You see this?
Mueller went neuter on us,
and that takes you back to why Merrick Garland at Department of Justice moves so slow.
Exactly.
You can track this right back to that.
Right back to that.
Benny Thompson, head of that January 6th Select Committee, did his job, and that's what forced Merrick Garland to finally make a move. Here again, not unlike Chuck Schumer, not unlike Joe Biden, Merrick Garland is an institutionalist. But if Merrick Garland had moved faster, we might not be in this moment.
Might not be in this situation.
Nobody's fault but mine. Democrats they got to look in the mirror on this, man.
We ought to put that song up.
We'll play it when we come back.
Oh,
you're listening to Cornell West and Tabitha Smiley sitting in for Jesse Jackson Jr.
Nobody's fault but mine.
That's it.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
The IRS finally caught up with Louie.
I hadn't paid my taxes in 8 years. I owe the IRS a lot of money.
Louie was in deep trouble.
We're going to take your house, put a lien on your bank account, garnish your pay. They don't care. They're going to take your paycheck.
Louie found out about Optima Tax Relief, the leading tax resolution firm. A-plus rated by the Better Business Bureau, they've resolved over $1 billion for their clients.
Optima Tax, they help me. They calm me down. They make me feel comfortable, and I trust them.
Louie has a lot to be thankful for.
I don't owe the IRS anymore, and I'm able to live a comfortable life, a lot better life. It was because of Optima Tax.
For tax help you can trust, call Optima now for a free consultation. Take it from Louie.
If you owe the IRS, don't go it alone. Give Optima Tax a call. They can help you.
Call 800-919-9077. 800-919-9077. 800-919-9077.
Optima Tax Relief.
Testimonial from an actual client. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 is committed to self-care and community well-being. Walk Good LA was formed in June 2020, inspired by the Black Lives Matter movement and the beginning stages of the COVID-19 pandemic. What began as a few minutes of breath work and yoga meditation before protests against police brutality turned into a safe space for the community to heal in hard times. The immensely positive response from the community transformed the momentum into a movement. Today, Walk Good LA is a black and brown-led Christian-led community wellness organization based in Los Angeles. They provide spaces for healing through community yoga classes, guided meditations, hikes, run clubs, and other activations throughout Los Angeles that attract hundreds of members weekly. With the help of Propel and Michael B. Jordan, they now have a yoga and wellness studio in Los Angeles called the Walk Good Yard. To join their mailing list and connect with healing spaces, please visit walkgoodla.org. That's walkgoodla.org. Or find them on Instagram at walkgoodla. This is a community call to action, a community call to healing from KBLA Talk 1580.
I can't believe how spotless my floors look after using the Swiffer Power Mop. No more dragging around a heavy mop and messy bucket. Now I get the same deep clean without all the work. Thanks to the powerful solution and scrubbing pad of the Swiffer Power Mop, dirt and grime don't stand a chance, and I don't break a sweat. Mic drop. Mop drop.
Swiffer Power Mop. Swiffer Power Mop.
A smarter way to mop. Try it or your money back.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
Nobody's fault but mine. Nobody's fault but mine. If I die and my soul be lost, ain't nobody's fault but mine. Well, it's nobody's fault but mine. Nobody's fault but mine. If I die and my soul be lost, ain't nobody's fault but mine. Well, now I got a Bible I can read. I got a Bible I can read.
The Blind Boys of Alabama. That's the song that Doc referenced moments ago. That's Dr. Cornell West. I'm Tavis Smiley. Let it ride, Miles. We are sitting in today for Jesse Jackson Jr., who's away attending to some family business. Hopefully Jesse's back in this chair tomorrow. But we're playing this song because Doc called it up a moment ago. Again, if you never heard it, it's the Blind Boys of Alabama. And we were talking about how we got in this situation where Trump is now showing up every day as the gangster that he is. Dr. West called him that years ago. And now we all see the ways in which he's moving every day. And Doc and I were both making the point to each other that if Merrick Garland had moved sooner, we might not be in this moment. So it's not either or, it's both and. Yes, you can call Donald Trump a gangster. He is. But there's some complicity here on the part of Democrats. So I mentioned the fact that if Merrick Garland had moved faster, if Benny Thompson hadn't forced him with that January 6th Select Committee report, hadn't forced Merrick Garland into action when he did force him in, we might not be here. And then you went back a step further than that.
Yeah, indeed. And Brother Obama himself, if he had fought Mitch McConnell, Garland would have been on the Supreme Court. It would have been a qualitatively different court.
Yeah.
But they just didn't have enough fight. They didn't have enough fire. And you can't be concerned with vulnerable people, oppressed people, black folk, if you don't have fire and if you don't have fight in your soul, though, brother. And I think this is so important about black media in general, and Brother Tavis's station here at KBLA Talk 1580. That when people talk about the voices of resistance, they talk about the figures trying to give America a way out. If they don't pay attention to black media and what is taking place on this station, if all they're doing is addicted to CNN and MSNBC and the New York Times and the Washington Post and the Atlantic Magazine and think those are only fundamental sources of voices of resistance, the country's going to go down even quicker than it is. And that's something that needs to be said over and over again, because people act as if Black America is just standing still. Black America's on the move. We got some voices that's serious about telling the truth and seeking justice and putting things in context.
That's right.
And this is something that needs to be said over and over again. It's like American music without black music. What's left?
It's flat.
You got some things, but not a whole lot. You don't hold your breath. So it is in American politics. So it is in American public discourse.
Yeah. I've said it many times, and I say it again now, and I appreciate the kind words from Doc, but black media is more relevant and more necessary now than ever before. Why? Glad you asked. Because there's some questions that don't get asked if we don't ask them. Some topics that don't get traversed if we don't traverse them. Some issues that don't get raised if we don't raise them. And some people doing some great work, to the point that Doc just made, who don't get profiled if we don't profile them. As a matter of fact, at our KBLA.store, we're always selling merch, always selling product. But we just literally started selling a new hoodie the other day. And I'm told this thing is on fire. So everybody loves the hoodies. Of course, Doc loves his three-piece black suit. I ain't mad at him. You ain't going to catch Dr. West in no hoodie.
Don't want to mess with my fro.
Mess up the fro.
Don't want to mess up my fro.
I got you. You would not see Doc in a hoodie. But if you love hoodies, go to KBLA.store. We're selling a new hoodie now. And the hoodie just says very simply in the front, Black media is the resistance.
Ooh.
That's our new hoodie.
Ooh.
That black media is the resistance. And that's where we find ourselves. If there's a Trump 2.0, there must be a resistance 2.0. And echoing what Doc said a moment ago, that's our new hoodie, that black media is the resistance. Somebody's got to speak truth to power and to the powerless. And so we're just trying to do our part in that regard. I guess the question is, we got about 4 minutes left in this conversation, Doc, which I've enjoyed immensely. Just good to be reconnected with you with this version of Smiley and West beautiful. As we sit in for Jesse Jackson Jr. today. I don't know. It feels like we're on a roller coaster. And maybe roller coaster is the wrong metaphor, because roller coaster suggests there are ups and downs. Right now, it's just all down. So I'm not even sure the roller coaster is the right term. We're going down the rabbit hole. Maybe a better metaphor. The question is, how does this moment get arrested? How do we arrest this trajectory that we're on right now? I don't know that I know the answer to that.
Well, I mean, I don't think we all have an answer, capital A. It's always a mystery, and ours is into trying. The rest is not our business. We have in full control. But I can say this, that the resistance forces that have been out there must be stronger than ever, one. Two, that many of the folk who voted for Trump are thinking seriously about the mistake that they made. And as inflation hits them, as they lose their jobs, as they begin to see more and more he is a cultist figure who cannot deliver, he's the Wizard of Oz, all you got to do is pull the curtain and see there's no there. And third, the decannibalizing that's going to take place among Trump's people themselves. Probably between Trump and Musk. But on different layers as well. Vance is going to be part of. They're going to be at each other's throats. That's what gangsters do. That gangsterization is a spiritual condition as well as a political and a social one.
You know, you said something now that I hadn't even thought about. As many times I've heard you say this, it just hit me in this moment. That you've never seen a movie about gangsters. I'm about to say something deep here, y'all, I think. Something profound. Somebody quote me on this. My friend Zoe Williams said, somebody meme that. Somebody meme that. I think I just said something. As Doc is talking just now, it made me think, I have never seen, I'm putting Miles and Faraji and all of us on the spot, I've never seen a gangster movie where at some point the gangsters didn't turn on each other. I mean, think about it.
I haven't seen too many of them, but I can imagine.
No, Trump is a gangster, but in every gangster movie, there's always an intra-war.
Oh, yeah.
There's always, the gangsters always turn on each other at some point.
Absolutely.
I was just watching Harlem Nights the other night. Think about Harlem Nights. Think about Tony Montana. Think about The Godfather. Think about
The Godfather. I did see that. Yeah, the class.
In every gangster movie, there's always a point at which the gangsters turn on each other.
They start devouring and eating each other. It's a law of life and history.
Hadn't thought about it till Doc said it. So get your popcorn ready, because at some point They're going to go in on each other. But that does not mean that this is an either-or proposition.
That's right.
It's not either-or, it's both and. That's right. We can't sit back and just wait on them to turn on each other. We have agency that we must exercise, and that's Doc's point, the opposition.
We got our moral compass, and we're going to love the least of these. We're going to love black folk and poor people and working people, not just here, but around the world, in Gaza, Guatemala, in Brazil, in L.A., Chicago, and especially in Mississippi.
There you go.
Because I got a bias toward Mississippi.
So do I. Given that is the state of my birth, as you well know, I got a bias toward M-I, crooked letter I, crooked letter I, humpback, I. Now, top that tomorrow, Jesse Jackson Jr. Let me stop. That's Dr. Cornell West. I'm Tabby Smiley. What a joy we've had in this hour, sitting in for our dear brother. We love you, Jesse Jr. Hopefully you're back in your seat tomorrow, because we can't do this 2 days in a row. Doc's got things to do. I got things to do. But up next on KBLA Talk 1580, it's the D.L. Hughley Afternoon Show. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Amber Payton with 4 Things You Should Know with BIN News. The Pentagon has removed an article on African-American baseball legend Jackie Robinson's Army service amid President Trump's DEI purge. It detailed his military career, court-martial